Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic Podcast. This is your host, Ralph Burns. I'm the founder and CEO of Tier 11. Alongside her,
Lauren E. Petrullo, the founder of Mongoose Media.
And I am much taller than Lauren, as you can see here. We've been debating this for the last 17 minutes, I believe it is.
That's a 7.
Yeah, that's a 7, but you forgot the other 12. So actually it's 19 minutes. But anyway, Lauren is clearly shorter than me, which, because she wears the high heels, here it seems the opposite. Well, you wear a TNC, you were wearing some really big heels. They got to be, they're a 5-incher, stilettos. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
You didn't cheat, you didn't try. I just remember you being like, is that Lauren? Oh my goodness. Is she that much taller than me? And then you immediately go like, she's cheating.
She's cheating. And then Qasim is like a foot taller than you. So it was crazy. I was
my father was a foot taller than me, okay?
Really?
Yes, on one side. He's 5'4" on the other because he lost
the long line of not Petrullos. What's your maiden name?
Jorgensen.
Oh,
no. People can now, don't Google. Oh.
They already are.
Stop.
They're looking you up on Ancestry.com. So speaking of which, today's episode is... Speaking of our stupid, quirky personalities,
I didn't use the word stupid.
I'm talking about myself. You're more quirky,
quirky, dorky, and everything in between.
All that we tend to lean into that a bit. We really don't care what people think, which is actually what today's episode is all about. It's not like we're trying to be somebody that we're not. We're just this way naturally, which is actually the case. So you on camera are exactly the same way in real life.
That's such a great thing to hear.
Yeah.
Qasim said that to me after Perpetual Traffic, and we're in the elevator, and he was like, it's really great. Who you are on stage is exactly who you are in real life.
Yeah.
And I was like...
But you're now going a little bit like a level up from that, though. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here today. And if you haven't noticed, we've already started to do it on our Tier 11 social media. We have a new, obviously we merged forces with Loft 325. Now they're part of Tier 11. And part of that, which was great, was that we got a very sharp, top-notch social media marketing team.
I know.
Which is fabulous because I don't have to do it now. Now we've got people that actually know what they're doing. But the point is it's allowing me to lean into more of my opinions and my personality, which isn't something that I'm doing sort of intentionally just to draw attention, but it's I feel very strongly about certain subjects, as do you. And I think in order to succeed in this world and to stand out from all the noise is to actually lean into your personality. And this is something that Perry Belcher talked about at that Driven Mastermind, which we talked about in our last episode, which is don't be boring.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of it was from other people. I get it. I'm actually reading a book right now, which he recommended, which is, if I can get to my notes fast enough, and I really can't. It's called Absolute Charisma. It's actually about being charismatic, but not necessarily trying to be false charismatic. It's just using your own personality to differentiate yourself in a crowded market.
So is this on your Goodreads profile, though?
I don't have a Goodreads profile. Should I?
For me, it's the most important social media profile.
Oh my God. Yet another social media I need
Look,
to
you have
avoid.
a goal for how many books you can read in a calendar year, right? Some people are super obsessed with completing their health fitness app. I beat my Goodreads book reading goal.
How many was it?
39.
39. All trashy romance novels?
Hey, I've read almost 69 books this year, so no.
Why am I not surprised at that number? See, that's part of this Lauren Petrullo personality thing about not being bored. So let's talk about that. All right? Let's talk about what you're planning on doing, and then we're going to relate it back to this talk, which I think is super important because I think for a lot of people, they want to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
And that is the absolute wrong way to do anything on social these days. And there's plenty of examples. We talked about it before, when you're watching Shark Tank. You want to know you want to know what Mr. Wonderful thinks. He's got a divisive, opinionated, charismatic, maybe a little bit of a dick, know, and, Perry actually knows him. He's like, he is an asshole in real life, which he thrives in that. Like, that's part of his personality. On American Idol, which I never watch, but when I do watch it, I am really interested.
You can't say on American Idol, which I never watch, immediately by when I do watch it.
When I do watch it, but I have watched it.
Okay.
And I know who this person is. Like, who is the judge that you care about the most? It's
Simon Cowell.
Simon Cowell, of course. So it's like, there's two great examples of people who are divisive, maybe a little bit of like Perry's talk was about like, it's okay to be an asshole.
Okay.
But I don't actually think that's right. Like, you can still be nice and be charismatic. Like, you look at like The Rock or like Ryan Reynolds.
Oh my gosh. Or Kevin Hart. Like, these are all charismatic people. Yeah. They're not jerks. Like, Mr. Wonderful is a jerk. Simon Cowell sort of plays one, but he's actually just highly critical, and he knows what he wants. I guess I have watched American Idol. Yeah. You're just, I mean, you keep saying this. You're a Kelly Clarkson fan.
I love Kelly Clarkson, actually. The pickup truck song. I'm trying to remember it. Anyway. The point is that I think in today's world, if you're going to have any sort of social presence, and it's a great way of not necessarily building a brand to satisfy your personal ego, we're doing this to promote our businesses. Mm-hmm. And we do our socials because we want to get out a specific message that is unique to Mongoose Media, unique to Tier 11, and we want to be able to articulate that. And we feel very strongly about those subjects. And I think this talk and the book I'm reading right now has given me more confidence to be able to lean into that. I hate the whole lean into thing. It's like, think outside of the box, lean into it. If you ever go to Meta, they say lean into everything. It's hysterical. Anyway, the point is I'm leaning into, and thinking outside of the box and shifting the paradigm and putting in 110%.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to throw out as many, corporate phrases as possible. But leaning into like your own differences. And so there is going to be a little bit more of Lauren coming out in the coming months in some of your socials. So to that point, do you want to give a little bit of a sneak preview as to what I'm alluding to here?
What you're talking about, what we've talked about is that for those that know me, you say I'm the same person here and the same person in person.
Yeah, you are.
With the slight asterisk of I try to tone down my vulgarity with respect to the listeners. As I've said before, my comedy skews dirty.
Yeah.
Raunchy.
You're a little raunchier in real life.
I love talking about a very specific subject that is quite taboo. Mm-hmm. And the fact that as a female I talk about it usually catches men very off guard. Especially when I'm showing up in 5-inch stiletto heels, a la stripper style heels.
Yep.
And coming bluntly out with very vulgar pickup lines as my, hi, nice to meet you. I have some Skittles in my mouth. Want to taste the rainbow? As like an early introductory joke. Now, let's be clear. That's not how I shake hands. Like, I at least need to make sure your hands are clear and there's no sticky residue. But anyways, right. Oh my gosh, people are going to be like, Lauren, it's ridiculous.
My little Purell.
But in that, when I have spoken on stage, when I have done private consulting, I end up leaning into a lot more of those sexual similes because it makes the content stickier. Mm-hmm. Not that kind of stickier, but it does last and it comes through much harder. Analogy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to that effect, I've received a lot more positive feedback that it helps reinforce an idea. I stand out in that particular way. And I come from Disney.
Yeah.
I have worked for universities. I can't use that same language with the Pepperdine team that I worked with the Vermont Law School team that I worked with.
Right.
So coming from a corporate background, there's been a like, okay, tone it down. And now I've been telling you how we're amplifying it even harder. And so some of the things that he's alluding to is at Traffic and Conversions, the conference you and I are both speaking at. You and I are both excited to attend in March in Vegas.
Very much so.
I'm putting together all the swag that we're bringing to the conference and leaning in. Like those who know me know that like a lot of the stuff that I bring to my company for biz dev marketing side, I'm like, oh, I'm sex on a stick, right? Like I get the attention. I talk about the marketing strategies. I try to get people a boner for their marketing campaigns. Right? Like, how can I get an erection in sales? We are going to lose so many people in this podcast, and I apologize. It makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, Apple Podcasts is just, we might lose our standing with the over explicit.
It's a different kind of standing ovation than I would want
for
this type of content.
I got it. I got the analogy there, too.
So anyways, to that effect, again, I promise you, if we're having a conversation in person, it's usually a lot funnier. Having to explain how I think I'm funny is just bombing right now, but it's okay. I'm working on it. But the content that
it explains it. I think, Like, well, I was trying to get you to give us some explicit, like, specifics on it.
I can get you. So you want me to talk about the fanny pack and the business card?
Yeah, like this is. I mean, I think if you're going to go. Like, if you're going to go all in on your person, like, you're not manufacturing this personality, this approach, because it comes naturally to you.
Oh, I mean, that I am the child that's like, oh, that's what he said on every joke. Like, I have a fifth grader's sense of humor, and I find it hilarious. Yep. Not everyone does.
Not everyone does.
But for those that can laugh with it, they feel safer, they feel more vulnerable because I've already slashed the tires of awkwardness. Because again, I'm coming in with a like, hey, do you like Star Wars? Oh, because you're the best type of conversation starter, which is like, that's not what I expect. I thought you would say, what do you do for a living? But so the TNC stuff that I'm bringing 2 members of my team, and we'll have our fanny packs.
Yep.
And our fanny packs say, stop getting by your agency. I'm protecting that swear word because that was going to be F apostrophe CKED.
Yeah. Is it actually going to be spelled out on the end?
Asterisk CKED.
Sorry.
So stop getting.
I should have listened.
Fluffed by your agency. Practice safe marketing. And then of that, when someone wants our business card, inside our fanny pack are our business cards, which are a host of custom condoms with on one side our QR code and contact details, and on the other side different phrases like more ROI, less STDs, or the best bang for your buck, so that we can pass out dirty, a la funny, quirky marketing materials that ideally will start a conversation and definitely be appropriate for Las Vegas as an environment. And, if that's a calling card that's like, hey, this is really interesting, this is funny, definitely no one is using custom condoms unless someone from this is stealing my idea, then okay, you thief. Like,
you're very brave to bring this out before TNC, but you are speaking at TNC, so if you're listening and you're going to try and steal this, don't fucking steal it.
I didn't use the F word, you just grabbed it. But anyways, you thought that was really funny. And so we'll be using it at other conferences. And of course we have additional swag that when you scan the QR code, we have a really, really awesome, I'll keep that one close to the heart.
Close to the vest.
But you want my swag. I promise. It tastes delicious. And is also really funny. And we have a lot of other supporting materials that leans into it. And even some of the type of campaigns we're doing, when we can have sexual innuendos in our campaigns, we have found a spike in sales. We have found
sales
go up. We've got a reaction.
We got a reaction.
And
we'll keep it clean on that one.
Oh my gosh. People are listening to this and they're like, it's not going to be 80% that are listening through the whole thing.
No, they're definitely not. So, but my point is this, is that there are 433,000 agencies on the planet.
That's so many.
There is so many. You are trying to double down on what you feel is unique to your personality, but also being true to yourself at the same time. It's not manufactured. I mean, I will say, you're the same person on Perpetual Traffic as you are in the real world, as opposed to when we're recording. But you're a little bit raunchier for sure. Like that's your thing.
But this content doesn't come up necessarily.
Yeah, it's like we have been talking about sort of more, like it wouldn't normally arise in these cases.
I like that you're trying.
On Perpetual Traffic. I'll do what I can.
Am I rubbing off on you?
I think you are, actually. It's because we've been sitting here for so long. I think it's just a matter of time. I'm going to start becoming a blonde, I think. Sooner or later, if I grow some hair back. Anyway, you're doing it because this is who you are. But it's also a differentiator in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And the whole idea behind Don't Be Boring is lean into who you are, because there's a lot of people that are out there that are looking for people to sort of tell them what to do. You have to be able to break through and get through a lot of the fluff. A lot of like now everything I'm saying you're gonna like take it as
on YouTube. I'm really trying to hold
it back.
Yeah.
The point is like that's your thing. That's going to be your marketing thing. So my marketing thing is going to be different than that. But I do understand this, and we'll get to that in a second. It's like the heroes of today are. It seems like it's changed. Okay. It's like John Wayne used to be the big hero back in like the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. Like today's heroes are like Dexter. Like, okay. You know what I mean? Like polarizing figures that are even bad to a certain degree. Like they're bad guys. Like, Simon Cowell, Mr. Wonderful are not really nice guys. Like they kind of abuse people on those shows. Like they're not nice, but people are attracted to them. There's some people that are completely repelled by them.
For sure. And
you're not, and you are not going to pull any punches. There's going to be some people that are like, oh my God, I can't believe, like I can't stand her.
Oh,
as a result of
100. But I've always had that.
Like,
I've always had people that can't. I look like their ex-girlfriend.
Right.
Or I'm too tall for their appetite, or insert any other excuse. Like I've always had people that I've repelled, and I always will repel people. I'm just accepting the unapologetic component of, yes, my humor skews dirty. Yes, I can bridge how your marketing corresponds or correlates to a dating environment. And I can definitely make it a stronger alignment when I can bring in a topic that tends to be taboo, but one everyone knows and talks about, at least behind closed doors. I'm bringing it out in the open so that we can get to where we're trying to go faster. And it's definitely going to be polarizing. I go to church. Like I go to church every Sunday, almost twice a week sometimes.
Yeah.
And
which is another interesting thing. Like you're the way that you are, but then you have that. And then like there's a lot, but like all the mixture of all those different traits makes you unique to you. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the lesson here is that you need to lean into the traits that make you specifically you.
Without being disingenuous.
Without being disingenuous or fake.
Yeah.
Because that's the big difference. There is a strength vacuum, I think, in the world. Like people want to be led by strong, polarizing personalities. Like look at our presidential election right now.
Yeah.
It's like Trump has no right to even be close to being the president of the United States because he's a convicted felon. He's done all these horrible things. But 50% of Americans absolutely love him. And he got 47 million votes. Like even when he lost, like there's no rationality to it, but it speaks to what we're talking about here because he's a polarizing figure.
He's leaving out aspects that would traditionally be considered rejectable traits of a politician.
Yeah.
But he's leaning into other aspects where, he's got strong opinions also in how he wants to help business owners and how he wants to tackle immigration, which aligns with a lot of personalities that I think maybe people didn't feel connected with. When we go back to when you talk to everyone, no one is listening,
right?
Which people have done a lot. And because we have this inundation of so many different subjects, like, again, I talk about how one of the best ways that you can do lead generation right now is when you cock block the wrong people from getting into your CRM. Like, I don't even want to waste my time with those people, I'm not here for a quantity volume game. Like, don't swipe right on me on Tinder and every other marketer just quantity. Like me. I have to pay for you to be in my CRM. Right. No way. I'm cock-blocking you. You cannot get in. You cannot have my number until you have proven that you've got the goods.
Yeah. I think, one of the things, like, I make it well known on this show, like where my politics are, but not try to get too political. But I look at everything through a marketing lens. Mm-hmm. And one of the interesting parts of the 2016 election was that even though Hillary Clinton was leading in the polls, one of the polls that was taken showed that Trump had when the question was asked, which candidate is more charismatic, it was like 85% to 15% Trump versus Hillary. Okay. Who was more suited to become president? 65% said Hillary.
Interesting.
And who won? Trump won. Like, charisma, whether it's aligned or misaligned, wherever you stand, like on the political spectrum, trumps, like fitness for office or even competency in many cases. Like, that's how powerful it is. And I'm not saying like you should listen to what I'm saying and start following Trump. I'm saying that charisma
goes a long way.
Okay,
so shifting off of the political side, right?
Yep.
Like, you have other very charismatic leaders that take present positions in the media. You have the creator of the Fire Festival. You've got Elizabeth Holmes with Theranos.
Mm-hmm. Theranos.
Yeah, or
total BS product, by the way. Like, if you don't know the story, like I was in the lab industry, like what she was pitching, I mean, it is impossible to like basically have this machine that's the size of this entire hotel suite in like a box about the size of like a trash can. It's like unbelievable.
But pitching the idea.
She pitched the idea, but she was so charismatic in her own way
that people didn't do the due diligence. But Correct. That's so many times. Like, there's Adam Newman from WeWork.
Great example.
Lots of examples. But that's not always true that charismatic people can't follow through.
But we're talking about charismatic people leading people down maybe the less savory path or the
unchecked.
The thing about unchecked, like fact check any Trump speech anytime.
Well,
99% of it is inaccurate. However, he's got the charisma to pull it off, and that's why he pulls people in.
And the confidence that people believe it.
Yes,
which
exactly.
Is where
it says it over and over and over again.
The reiteration.
Of course.
So that's where
Joseph Goebbels said that as well. Repeat a lie enough, people start to believe it.
It's true.
And it's true. But so we're talking about the evil side of it, which I don't want people to say, oh, well, I can be like that and deceive people. I'm saying
no.
Charisma can be channeled in different ways.
Charisma can carry opinion.
100%.
And a lot of when charisma is successful is when it's authentic. Now, those individuals we've mentioned 100% believed in their own work. Right? Yeah. They believed in it. We can think of other charismatic leaders like Steve Jobs, and where his was very successful, right? Elon Musk. They are charismatic people. They command attention, but their real success comes from the team that supports them on the other side, that helps maintain that checks and balances, that are the operation. But it's always like, the visionaries, the Walt Disney to the Roy Disney, right? You have the person that carries the vision, that commands attention and eyeballs, and then you can have the supporting operations to it. In these examples, potentially their team wasn't stacked with enough checks and balances to make sure that villainy side of which it's a balancing line, because marketing can feel manipulative, right? Sure. Ryan Holiday wrote an amazing book called Trust Me, I'm Lying. And
I haven't read that.
Oh, it's so good. I had 10 out of 10 recommend. And so in that, when you lean in, it can allow you to leverage charisma when it's authentically to polarize your audience so you're not speaking to everyone and no one is listening. In fact, you're speaking to the people that want to hear the message you have to say. And for those that find sex humor funny, I got you all day long. And those that find it annoying and aggravating, cool, tune me out. I get it. I'm not offended.
Move on.
I respect it. I am.
But you're being true to yourself.
I am. And it's comfortable for me because it's a subject that I think everyone can relate to.
Right.
And the taboo nature of it makes it easier, more poignant to connect to subjects versus having to make similes of like a hot dog eating contest.
Right. Hot dog eating contest. What the hell did that come from? Anyway, the point is like you're being true to yourself, and it's also a way to differentiate in the marketplace. So it's a two. You are. I wouldn't say killing two birds with one stone. You're achieving the same goal using a legitimate means in which to differentiate yourself, but also being true to yourself.
Being the dirty marketer.
Doing the dirty marketer. That's it. So our thing in the coming months, and you'll see this inside the Tier 11 socials, is like how we really do think that all agencies, and there's maybe some good ones out there, with the exception of Mongoose Media, of course, and a couple others, like there's 433,000 agencies in the world. We've said this many times. So a lot of them have no right being in business, and they've been burned by customers, and we get them like the fourth or fifth time, and they're like, I don't believe what you're saying. I'm sick of dealing with that crap. And so we are going to be going after like this market, because this market, there are some agencies that need to go out of business. I'm sorry. They suck so bad.
They shouldn't have been in business.
They shouldn't have been in the business in the first place. But it's like when we get on calls and we start talking about business metrics that matter, like our MPIs. If you haven't gotten our MPIs, you should get them at perpetualtraffic.com/MPI. How many times have I said that? Like
it's
100
times. At this point.
All right. The point is that you should be focused on the right things that actually move the needle in the business, whereas most agencies just want to make themselves look good. And that is our whole thing, like leaning into that, because we have created this podcast with 15 million downloads, and it's launched thousands of agencies, a lot of which shouldn't be in business. I'm sorry. Because they just don't know what they're doing. And the problem is that they think they know what they're doing when in fact they're actually doing a disservice to the client in most cases.
I'll caveat that whether they should or should not be. Like, I don't want to make that like someone shouldn't be able to create their own business.
No.
I would say that they shouldn't be as successful as they have been because they've led with the charisma and they're selling an unrealistic outcome.
100%.
And then what happens is someone gets invested in what's potential. And I'm not saying that we haven't been guilty of it. Like there have been times like we've grown as an agency. Yeah. For sure. Who I've been 5 years ago is a very different agency.
Oh, totally. Now. Even me 3 years ago, like 2022, we were one of those agencies. It's sad to say. Like we were relying on like making ourselves look good and thinking performance was the ultimate indicator as to whether or not a client would stay with us.
But that's also what clients were leading the conversation with.
True.
So you were following their lead, and now what we're talking about is like, okay, then we're just going to stand, and this is the lead that we're going to have. You're going to be hyper clear that you may have been burned by other agencies, and if you choose to go to another way, they're going to be burned. Like whether or not the performance is there, this is the reality of the situation. This is the trajectory of your company's growth, and this is where you ultimately want to go. You're harping on the idea of a long-term investment for sustainable growth, sustainable results. And I'm harping on the interruptive nature of like, I want this to be sticky. I want to garner attention. I want to elevate above the noise. While you and I are saying a lot of the same things, the avenue or the language we're using is authentic to how we speak to it. You have that like agencies effed up and they're destroying reputation of teams that have been built to create. I mean, like what you've done with Data Suite, however you want to pronounce it.
Data Suite.
Is remarkable.
Yeah.
It's something that
it's a game changer.
Anyone who has access to because they hire Tier 11 has an unfair advantage of knowing where traffic is coming from. And you've been able to create that in a way that is so impressive. Like no jokes aside. Like it's honestly very stimulating. However, there are other agencies that will say a lot more and use their voice and their charisma to win business that they don't have the means to fulfill on, which hurts the end user in the long run.
Or they know that they can sort of pull the wool over the eyes of the client to a certain degree and get by to a certain...
Yeah, and sometimes they don't care.
And sometimes the client doesn't care, or sometimes they don't care, like the agency doesn't care. And then that just sucks.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you get this at all. But I mean, whenever I tell people what I do, sometimes I was just at this mastermind. I was like, yeah, I run a digital marketing agency. Like, oh,
another one.
Another one.
Yeah.
Well,
my nephew does it.
Yeah.
My sister's neighbor's girlfriend just launched an agency.
That really pisses me off. Like, that's what I want to change.
I've gotten people that have reached out and be like, oh, I'm starting an agency too, Lauren.
Yeah, so am I.
And I'm like, awesome. Good luck. Like,
Good
there's
luck.
a lot of stuff that needs to get into it. Like,
it ain't that easy.
You have to get married. You've got to court your clients. Like, this isn't, like, you're not going to get pregnant on the first try. But, sometimes they will. And, there's premature. Okay, I'll slow down.
Well, now you're leaning into the Lauren E. Petrullo.
Yeah, it's coming out a bit more.
That's it. No, that's true. So I just think that the market is flooded. It's gotten too big. It's still growing, believe it or not. Like somebody said the other day, it's like, yeah, probably after the pandemic, the number of agencies has actually decreased. No, if you look at the data, it's increasing every single year.
The barrier to entry is so small.
The barrier to entry is so small. A lot of people, like myself, got out of the corporate world, started this thing, and then, worked from there, like as they do. That's right. Yeah. Of course. So it is an alternate way in which to, make money, have a business. Mm-hmm. You need a laptop and some expertise.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that should not be the agency model. Like that's got to change. And I think businesses, the ones that we talk to, that come in to want to work with Tier 11 are tired of all that crap. Mm-hmm. And when we start talking about profit, start talking about gross profit, like how can we achieve your goals as a business? What's your BHAG? Like where do you want to be? Like what's your big, hairy, audacious goal? How can we help you get there? We talk in terms of like what's important to them. We don't really care about the things that we do. All we care about is the stuff that they want to achieve. And when we do that, we achieve our vision as an organization. And we're really, really passionate about that. And when we talk to people about that, businesses, they're like, holy crap, this is like a breath of fresh air. I've never gotten this before.
Yeah, which you get to lean into because, again, that harping on the MPIs and your language around, like, I am fed up with that type of, that's your charisma and that's what you're leaning into. So, like, when you were listening to this talk, can you go more on, like, you had that really good statistic, that 90 and 10%?
Yeah.
Which is where we were talking about this. I told you, I'm leaning in more on, like, I'm just accepting and telling people more publicly, like, yes, I love pickup lines. Yes, I can make anything dirty. And if you let me run, I will run. And you will see great results.
I will run. And, some people won't like that. So, but a lot of people will. So I guess, TNC is going to be super interesting. I can't wait to see all that stuff coming out. So the statistic that you were referring to is 6.2% of people. Like, I don't know if this is the U.S. I know we Googled this the last episode we did. 6.2% of people display narcissistic tendencies. Mm-hmm. So there is that. So you have to, like, in order to do this, I don't know if you necessarily need to be a narcissist, but on the flip side of that is that 90% of people, like your audience, your customers, your people who you're trying to influence, display codependent tendencies.
Yeah.
So they are looking to be led. They're looking for somebody to say, there is one way to do this thing. Uh-huh. And that way is this way. And they are looking to follow that individual. And I don't know as if people understand that's the case. I used to work for a Fortune 500 company, like not as big as Disney. Well, actually, maybe it was. I don't know. But like I said, it was in the lab space. And we always used to joke. We had these Monday morning massacres.
Oh, no.
Which were like 8 a.m. in Cambridge Central Square. I lived 3 hours away. It was like a hellish commute. I'd get panic attacks on Sunday night. Oh. And like having to go in there. My kids were like 4 and 6 at that point. I had to drive in and just get assaulted by the upper management of this company. And we had to tell them like all the pipeline, all the stuff that was coming in that week, guarantee the amount of requisitions that we're going to get in the lab space, called the Monday Morning Massacre. And what we realized is that if you got onto that call, myself and Brian Bartel, shout out to BB, if you got on that call and you talked fast and you talked loud, they would believe everything you said. Yeah. If you came in and you were hungover, you were tired, or you were weak sounding, or you didn't, we're going to bring in that PSC at maybe 30 recs a day. They would be all over your stuff. You said, so Monday we're going to go to Southborough. We're going to get 30 recs a day at this, patient service center. All right, next one. Next one is Westwood Primary Care Associates, 10 requisitions a day. Like literally, that's how I would talk. If I talked like Westwood Primary Care, 10 requisitions per day, they'd be like, wait a second. Oh, how do you know that's going to be 10?
You'd be eaten alive.
I'd be eaten alive. Yeah. It was unbelievable. We did one day where we talked not charismatically, and then the next week we were totally charismatic because my friend Brian figured it out. He's like, just talk loud, talk fast, and it works. Like they bought it. Now we weren't giving them. Some of it was BS. I got to tell you.
Okay.
It might not have been 10 exactly from Westwood Primary Care. Not that there is a Westwood Primary Care, but anyway, the point is that maybe it was 7, maybe it was 8. But they were expecting 10. They didn't guess it, and they moved on to the next thing. Because I spoke charismatically. There is nothing I learned that is so key in life to a certain degree. And we were being a little bit deceptive, but it was such a bullshit call to begin with. Like, we had to survive.
Yeah.
It was a matter of survival.
You know what's funny is this, not to pull it back to politics, but what you're reminding me is the Kennedy-Nixon debate.
Yeah.
And that was at a time when there were those that listened to it on the radio and those that watched it.
Yes, this is a great example.
And if you don't know this, I highly encourage you, check out the link. We'll have an example that speaks to it. But those who listened had a different opinion on who came out ahead.
Yeah.
And John F. Kennedy at that time was considered attractive, especially with respect to Richard Nixon.
Yep.
So if you watched him, you fell in love with his charisma. But if you were listening and you were agnostic to the sex appeal of the two candidates, you would have believed that Nixon came out ahead of it. So it's just, at the end of the day, what you have is the transference of confidence, which you had pulled into. It's confidence goes a long way. And if you can lean into your messaging and lean into the familiarity, you end up creating a persona which, when authentic, comes across as charismatic. And you have to be careful because if it's inauthentic, I don't know how successful you would be of passing out condoms that say best bang for your buck.
Well, it's not consistent with my personality. It would be uncomfortable for me. So it'd be disingenuous and people would pick up on that because it's not me.
Yeah. And I'm I can back up and just be yes, this is it. Don't give me the card back. If you want to pass it to someone, I just recommend that you don't give them a used wrapper. And you're putting this in your wallet and you come home to your wife and you're like, what did you learn from the conference? Oh my gosh, I met this brilliant marketer. Her name's Lauren Petrullo.
Tall blonde. She's wearing stilettos.
Sparkly boots. Yeah. Her legs are longer than the Nile River, right? You're what did you learn from her? I have a business
body's
card.
really short though.
It's not. I'm vertically challenged. The belly button up, but. You say what falls out of your wallet? And you go, honey, why is there a condom in your wallet? It's not used. It's a business card.
That's right.
Who is this Lauren girl?
Yeah, who is this? I'm calling her right now.
And I can follow through with that story all day. And if there's a female, I'm oh no, tell your husband, you female marketer, what did you get? This is the best swag I got. I came home with a condom.
Yeah.
And I can back that up all day because that's my sense of humor. You would be I'm not saying for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be as...
it wouldn't. It's not me. It's another personality, which we talk about a lot, which we both love and adore and is going to be on this show at some point, is Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, for sure.
The epitome of charisma.
Yes.
But he does it in his own way. He is not The Rock. He is not Dexter. He's not Simon Cowell. He is uniquely Ryan Reynolds, but he's still charismatic.
Yes.
And he is, maybe he's got a little narcissism in there, of course, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But he's got humor and he's got empathy. And he's got and he's got very strong opinions said in his own unique way with a touch of self-deprecation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He is... I think he's amazing. We both think he's amazing.
Really, we should just put a Ryan Reynolds fan club website together and then just start asking PT listeners to vote and petition and be Ryan, we have 100,000 people that care about what you have to say. Please just give me an hour to pick your brain on how would you tackle specific marketing dilemmas.
Yeah, it's true. And it's not just because you actually became a Mint Mobile customer because of him, right?
Oh, 1,000%.
You wanted like the Christmas tree ornament or something like that?
Okay, so I didn't know I was going to get my ornament. But I mean, they had a really good offer.
It's even better.
I mean, it's freaking amazing.
That's
and you know what was the best part of the ornament? It was a topless selfie of Ryan Reynolds on a phone. So you had a phone tying back to its messaging. But again, like I relate to that messaging because I'm like, oh, it stood out to me.
Right.
Like, you know, for a lot of women, they're going to find him extremely attractive. If you had put Idris Elba on there, I mean, that would have been a very, very noticeable difference in my opinion. Right. I'm not saying Ryan Reynolds is not attractive. Yeah. I'm just saying there's different
He's a good looking dude. There's no doubt about it.
Of course. But that type of stuff resonated with me. I'm like, oh, I'm here for it. And if you look back to a previous episode where we talked about the Doom, do you remember the Doom popcorn bucket?
Doom popcorn bucket.
Oh my God, I couldn't wait to share that with you because I was like, this is you're putting your hand into a pocket popcorn distributor.
Oh my God! If you haven't watched that episode, we'll leave links in the show notes for that one.
That was a lot of fun
as well. Yeah. I mean, I think he's great because he is. I get the feeling that no matter if you met him in private, he would be similar, but I'm not sure. It's like you don't really know. Like he comes across like in his public persona as very authentic to that persona.
Okay.
Now,
as if he's Larry the Cable Guy as a character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like now, privately, is he going to be the same way? And this is the thing that I think people get caught up with. Is like, I don't want to be that personality because that's not who I really am on the inside.
Right.
When it comes to business, you can actually have two personas. Now, this is the reason why Perry's talk at Driven really resonated with me. I'm reading Paul McCartney's autobiography, which I mentioned. It's not autobiography. It's actually his biography. And it's called In His Own Words. And Paul McCartney states, like, there are two personalities. He's a Gemini, like I am, which basically means you have sort of two different personalities to a certain degree. You've got, like, the external, like, outward, very public-facing identity, more charismatic. But then there's also this sort of, like, introverted side, extrovert versus introvert. Superman Clark Kent. And he actually has a name for each personality. And I've seen Paul McCartney live. It's like he gets on stage, he says the same thing. He says the same jokes. Like we saw him like 2 nights in a row. I'm like, oh my God, he says the exact same thing. Mm-hmm. Like, anyway, the point is he refers to himself in his public life as he, him, or he, that guy, him. But his real personality is still sort of that way, but a little bit more withdrawn, a little bit more introverted. And that's me.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's okay to have those two things as long as both of them are authentic.
Yeah.
Because he's not putting on airs. He's just, I can't be that public-facing person all the time because it's exhausting.
Sure.
And that really resonated with me because I think there's a lot of people who listen to this show or watch this show over at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. And you can see Lauren's, me actually with Lauren right next to each other. Yeah, she's now poking my cheek, putting Wet Willie in my ear. Point is that it's okay to have both sides.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. As long as you're true to both.
It's both sides of the same coin.
It's the same coin. You're just flipping the coin.
Ryan Dice has been public about this as well.
Oh, 100%. This is a great example, actually.
So he's a self-identified known introvert.
A total introvert.
But
still funny.
Oh, funny for sure. But him in intimate environments, you really get to see him shine in a way that's like, oh my God, you're such an amazing human being.
Yeah.
In public environments, like he is still the face of digital marketer.
He still is.
And, it's a lot. And he has to be the face of a lot of ads. And he speaks on such big stages. And he has this presence because he's built such a successful company. But then afterwards, it's like, I need to retreat. And him on stage is amazing. But his one-on-one, his one to a few, when you have that opportunity, you get to see his personality shine 10x. Because he has to do the same two sides. Because on stage, people don't want the introvert version. They want to tap into the Ryan that they can more likely follow.
Right. There's hints of his non-public side in his public side.
Yes.
And there's hints of his public side in his non-public side.
For sure.
What I've found.
But it's authenticity.
But it's authentic. Yeah. It's two sides to the same coin, which I think is great. Good for you for picking that up. That was very good. Must be the purple jacket. One last part to this is, I think, and Ryan does this, Ryan Reynolds does this, all the authority figures that, hang on, Kevin, huge frog in my throat.
It's like my favorite joke. Do you know what Cinderella says when she gets to the ball? Close.
Bump. Kev, you can leave that one.
It could be like, bump, slap the ass.
All right. So one of the last things I want to get to here, which was a huge part of Perry's talk, is charisma, and especially public facing, is take a stand. Yeah. And by doing that, it is you're emphatic about one thing.
Yes.
And Ryan Dice does this really well. It's like, here's the thing you need to know. Here is how you do this. He's not like, well, you could do this or you could do that or you could do the other thing. He's like, you do this.
Yeah.
And if you're a public-facing persona and you're trying to build this persona, you have to talk like that.
Yeah.
In order for people to be drawn towards you. And that's part of charisma. Like, the only way to do this is to do, you need to be able to use this technique or this specific thing, not like this and then all these other sorts of things.
You can't be wishy-washy.
You can't be wishy-washy.
Vacillate between opinions.
Exactly. So
I found success telling people, like, straight up, leads by themselves are total horseshit. If you are looking for just a lead to be a lead, that's stupid. I think you're bad at marketing.
Right.
You need to make sure that you're bringing qualified leads that have self-identified that they are your actual target audience. If you're just going for volume for leads, that's dumb. I don't think you're good at your job.
You're completely emphatic about that.
Yeah, and I'm using vulgarity because if you go to my LinkedIn profile, it says dare to be vulgar and refuse to be boring. It's just, if I say, oh, leads are okay or leads are, I'm like, no, leads are horseshit. And if you're someone that has been doing lead generation for a while and you're like, oh, why do I have a list of leads that are not doing anything? I'm like, well, you invited the wrong people to your party.
Yeah, you're wasting your time. For us, it's one of the big things is ROAS sucks.
Yes,
for us.
You're so good at that.
So I'm like, in-app ROAS absolutely sucks. You are if that is what your agency is measuring success for you on, you are being led astray because ROAS sucks because it can be manipulated. Now, there are exceptions to that, of course, and we have discussed that. But the public-facing opinion is ROAS sucks. My point is that's a counterintuitive. So when you're saying something emphatic, it's like, do this one thing. I think what gives it even more teeth is if it's contrarian to the way the rest of the market views it.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you're very emphatic with that one thing, then you actually get more attention. And our socials are very specific on this. We've seen this already just in our Tier 11 socials versus what we were doing sort of a few months back. The point is you have to take a stand. You have to actually say it very emphatically to, talk loud, talk fast to a certain degree, and take a stand and be highly opinionated. The only way to do this is X, whatever that thing is, but have it be unique to you.
Yeah.
And if it's contrarian to a popular belief, even better. Yeah,
if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're watching a portion of this video on any social, if there's someone that comes to mind for you that you can think of a contrarian model or a pro statement that you so agree with, share that one out because we've come up with some examples, but I'd love to know more of if you're listening, what are some of the examples that come to mind?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the iPhone and the animosity as an Apple user I have towards that green bubble. Gosh dang you, ruining my group chats and sizing my images wrong. I can't stand it. If you have other examples that you think of, like, please share, because
Sure.
I'd love to, especially the Telegram group. I mean, that group is like amazing. So
yeah, that's amazing. Or like we mentioned last time, like a lot of folks are now using some of the stuff that we mentioned here on the show and then getting incredible results with it. This is a little bit of a longer term strategy. This is just an overview of how you should view your marketing. And if you're an agency, one that doesn't suck.
Don't suck.
And you're working, don't suck, first off.
I mean,
secondly,
don't suck at being an agency.
Don't suck at being an agency. Leave it. Yep. That's a whole Lauren E. Petrullo thing. Anyway, the point is like, whoa. No, the point is you can actually teach this to your clients. So a lot of clients, like when you're asking for video content from them.
Yeah, teach them how to not suck.
Teach them how to not suck by being not boring, and hopefully send them this episode because this is the stuff that works.
Yeah. When you say, like, again, when you're talking to everyone, no one's listening. Now, I will be mindful. I think it's like a Chinese proverb, like the nail that sticks out is the one that gets hammered. So you have to know that when you are being decisive and being direct, again, I am going to have people that are going to be like,
point.
Lauren is ridiculous. Like, why is she so raunchy? Get it? I am going to...
You're going to get some hate.
Some? Oh my gosh. There's going to be... And like, it happens. Like, there are people that don't think I'm doing this because that's just a topic I love. They're true story, awkward to say. As a female marketer, in times I have been one of the few women at conferences. And when I'm talking about a subject that's taboo, there have been times where men believe that indicates interest in them. Where I'm just like, no, I'm strictly talking about work. Right. Like, this is just fun. And then it's led to like really uncomfortable situations.
And that's one of the first things I think we talked about. Yeah. Like, have you ever had situations where you're in an uncomfortable
that's why I don't stay at the hotels of conferences so often.
So you've got to be careful. Like
I have to be mindful that
just as your partner in crime here, like you have to be careful with that because you're going out on the risk curve by being risque.
Yes. Oh, that was good.
You like that?
I do. But the more I can lean into it, I think we've been talking about like how you've taken so much from this is if I lean into it stronger, it becomes more defined as an aspect of my personality. Yeah. And I have garnered an amazing group of friends that know and understand my personality. And they're like, Lauren, you need to lean into this more. Like, this is so good that they end up thinking about me when then they have a funny or dirty play on words or some sort of joke. So I get to bring that in. And I've got this now amazing, safe community of people that will check anyone that is saying no. Because when I wasn't leaning into it and I was being more timid, it wasn't as clear potentially to others that I was so very not. I mean, I would just like you to look at, like, my husband's 6'4" from Italy. I promise I am not interested in your husband who has no hair and 30 years my senior. But that's okay. That's okay. When that has happened, by leaning in more, I'm just being more unapologetically against it. And then just knowing that if those situations come up, I have to be prepared.
There's going to be backlash.
To combat it, and that backlash.
There's going to be backlash, but you also, depending on what it is, you have to be careful. You have to protect yourself first.
Going into politics, like, you have to protect yourself. I super churchy.
Right.
I
mean, using the Trump example, like, as of right now, he's had 2 attempts on his life. So, like, there's people that absolutely hate
Great example.
So it's like,
the dangers that can come with when you're... The dangers that come
with being that...
authentic.
Yeah, I don't know as if he's actually authentic. But
I've not met him personally. But I think the part of, like, when you're leaning into that persona and it comes across as authentic and the charisma carries... I'm
not saying be charismatic like Trump. I'm saying use that as a proxy to the fact that this is what is going on in the world right now.
Yeah, but he's a great example of confidence to study.
100%.
How does he... I mean, he makes quick phrases and he leans into it that it's just so repetitive.
Like, honestly, now, but
I would love to bring someone from his marketing team on an interview because his team is tremendous at marketing because they lean in so well to that personality.
Yeah.
But again, when you do that, you have to be mindful that there are going to be people that don't like it, but you're going to attract as much as you repel. And when you can do that, you will find your ideal market resonates with you faster. They're going to understand what you're selling, and they're going to be all in versus being wishy-washy. And the thing that I just want to emphasize is it's really easy to not be poignant. I mean, we have brands all the time that I'm like, you need to take a stand.
Yeah.
Because, and a lot of that comes up with Pride, for example.
Right.
If you're celebrating Juneteenth,
Yep.
there's a lot, like, where are you on the war on holidays? Like, are you Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, every holiday in between? When you take a stand and you can stand out. Otherwise, people like, I don't know where you fit and you're trying to accommodate so well. That's a safe space to live in. Mm-hmm. But that safe space is not necessarily where customers want you to live. They want to know what side of the coin you are on. They want to know about your brand. They want to know, is your brand vegan? Is your brand clean? Like, all that stuff is helping sell products way more, and then it can translate as well into services for your business.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like, what we're really talking about here is branding.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like, exactly what you're saying relates to everything that we've discussed here.
Yeah.
And it goes back to brands, not just personality. Like, we've been more personality focused.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really good point, is that brands need to take a stand on their individual product.
Yep.
Otherwise, they are milquetoast. They are boiled chicken. They're going to just, they're a commodity. Like, they are going to blend in with everything else.
Yes.
And it's a huge part of creative. It's a huge part, especially top of funnel. Like, what makes you stand out, even if it's the thing that everyone else has. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just highlighting that thing. Like, this is a whole other marketing conversation.
Yes, yeah.
You know?
The sauna example that Qasim has talked about in past episodes.
It's fabulous. Yeah.
And, like, I remember I was texting him about it. I'm like, it's essentially saying that you have vegan tomatoes.
Right.
All tomatoes are vegan.
Right.
But if you're not leaning into that advertising, you own it. I have the vegan tomatoes.
I have the most vegan tomatoes.
Well, I only want vegan tomatoes.
Yeah.
Well, I now have to question if everyone else's tomatoes are vegan.
So who are you going to attract? You're going to attract
the people that really care about the animal safety, the vegan, save the world concept of tomatoes. Like, these are stronger than anything else.
You're not going after the entire tomato market.
No.
It's a great example. So anyway, we could do a whole show just on that. But
this title of the episode is going to be Lauren, the dirtiest marketer you will ever meet, who loves vegan tomatoes.
It's fabulous. So anyway, we appreciate everyone who has
Wait, go back to that 90%.
Yeah.
Don't close it. I love that quote you had in your things. This one.
Hang on, Kevin. Kevin.
I thought this was good, of like, when you're attending, we're
at an hour right now.
Fuck. Okay, withdrawn.
Yeah. That's why I didn't bring it up.
Sorry.
But I think we hit on it.
This is if you're watching on YouTube and he makes like shorts. There's just going to be a collection one day of me just eating, because I'm always eating in these episodes.
You're a snacker, I've noticed.
I graze like a cow.
Yeah, you graze all day.
I'm always eating.
I'm not going to say anything about you being a cow. All right.
I don't mind saying it. I am a cow.
You said it.
Move over.
You're grazing. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to this week's show. I really appreciate all the shout outs on LinkedIn in the comments and the ratings and reviews. Trying to make this show as best as we possibly can and pass it along to friends of yours. We'd like more digital marketers and more people who are trying to market in the right way to listen to what we have to say here.
Or just grow their businesses in general.
Business. No, marketing in the right way, and obviously, influencing the world in a positive way through their products and or services. So we appreciate everyone leaving reviews and
continuing the conversation.
On socials, actually, I think is great. We're getting a lot on LinkedIn. So anyway, all scratch that, Kevin. My voice is starting to give out.
Do you know scratching, by the way, when a girl touches herself, it's called DJing?
Say that again.
When a girl touches herself, it's called DJing. Do you know that?
I didn't know that. Wicka, wicka, wow, wow. Kevin. So all links, all resources that we mentioned here on this week's show are over at perpetualtraffic.com. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I don't know where you've been. You should. You can do that at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. On behalf of my awesome co-host, Lauren E. Petrullo.
Ciao.
Until next show, see ya.